I'm so sorry about that. Just do me a favor. I hate to do this. I'm just going to do the roll call again real quickly, because when we're idling out this long, I'm not, I'll shut the recording down. But anyways, so Dorothy, you're here. Just affirm.
Here.
Thank you. And Joe Plandowski,
Here.
Jacques Sinicki,
Here.
Barry Rector's here. Melissa Murphy, as I said, is absent, and Dave Iverson and Mary Lepre. We'll see if they do show up. So good afternoon. This open meeting of the Cannabis Advisory Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. For this meeting, the Cannabis Advisory Committee is convening by video conference via Zoom app as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and all attendees are participating by video conference. We also have the pleasure of having Nicole Campbell and Mike Sullivan here as well. And just so you're aware as well, finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. And if the public requires anything as well, please just raise your hand or, catch my attention. We'll be happy to chat with you. So anyways, next formality we're going to move to is that you do have an agenda before you at this point. I would appreciate a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
All right, so Dorothy, and do I hear a second?
Second.
Okay. And all those in favor, Jacques?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Dorothy?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye as well too. Okay. Draft minutes are still being recorded by way of Zoom at the moment. Do we have any public comment going on from either Nicole or Mike? Not that I'm seeing at this point. I put down committee review because things were a little unclear as to what our status was when they renewed the committee. So what I can tell you at the moment is that Melissa was reappointed by the select board to the committee. Joe, Jacques, myself, and Dorothy were all at-large members, and by virtue of extending the committee out to 2024, our terms were automatically renewed as well. Both Dave Iverson, who is appointed by the planning board, and Mary Lepre, who's appointed by the Board of Health. I have not heard back from them yet, but I'm expecting by the next meeting we have in July, we'll be hearing back on what the status is as well too. Election of officers, I hope, again, I'm trying to really, oh, well, there's Mary Lepre. Hold on, I stand corrected. Let me let her in. There you are.
Sorry, I just at work.
No, I understand. Yeah, there's something about having to have a paycheck and stuff to have to do things. I believe me, I know that routine very well. I'm so glad you're here though. Hang on just for a minute. All right. So I just, I really would like a full board. And I'd probably say once we know who our planning board and oh, good, Mary. And let me ask you a question. Did you get reappointed by the Board of Health to this, or do you? I don't know what your term is for it. You're muted, dear.
We didn't talk about it at the last meeting, but we have a meeting today.
You do. Could you do me a favor and just either have Roberto investigate what your term is to it, or just, I mean, we'd love to have you back on, but we need them to formalize the reappointment, if that's the case.
I can do that.
That'd be awesome. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for doing that. Anyways, at our last meeting, we were unclear as to what the status was with Act Natural. Melissa had some concerns, and I had asked her, I asked Mike to talk to her on a personal basis, because she had mentioned the select board was getting questions that she couldn't really adequately answer. So I know the two of them had a meeting, but we also found it prudent as well too to get a little bit of an update from Mike. And I have to admit, that was before we saw you opening. So personally for me, congratulations. I'm glad you guys are up and running. But I don't know if you want to just chat with us for a few moments since I've got you on the agenda.
Sure. Yep. We are back open again. State had asked us to update our mycotoxin testing protocols and procedures, and we did. And they let us open up last month, so we're back. Our doors are back open. So back to business as usual. That's basically it.
Okay, great. Absolutely great. Jacques, go ahead.
Speak with Melissa Murphy, and we had a great conversation. And
Good. I'm glad.
yeah, she's great.
Go ahead, Jacques.
Mike, are edibles not licensed yet, or you just haven't started producing them yet?
Nope, they're licensed. We're just waiting. So the way it works for us is we send a test to the state once it's complete, and then he approves it and puts it into metric. So I think they're extremely busy. So we are waiting to have them approve our tests, and everything will be back on the menu as soon as they're approved.
Great.
So it's just a matter of time. And I can't even imagine how busy the CCC is these days.
Okay. Anyone else? So I think, Mike, a lot of us really didn't want to interfere while you were going through that process, but now that you're back up online, I know when Green Lady first opened, it was great to have great to do a tour of the facility with Nicole and Rupert. It was enlightening at best. So I'd probably ask if it would be okay if we could maybe email you and see if you'd be amenable towards setting up a mutual date with each of the commissioners.
Anytime. I've put that out there many times. I know some have come through, some haven't, but anybody's welcome anytime, as long as I'm a part-time taxi driver shuttering around my 12-year-old kids between soccer and baseball. But aside from that, we can find a time, and I'd be very glad to give anyone a tour anytime.
All right, great. So if you do want to do that now, Joe, Mary, I know you have you been to Green Lady?
I
No.
have contacted Mike, I think twice about
Okay.
setting dates, and we've had conflicts both times.
All right. All right. So that's Act Natural. And like I said, I know personally, I dialed back from that while they were going through everything with the state because I figured there was enough confusion. My God, one of the commissioners from the Cannabis Advisory Committee is here now. What are they doing? Didn't want to add to the agita in the process. But
anytime, whenever. Just
no,
email.
I know you are. No. I know you are now. It's just I would have felt really guilty in the past.
Sure.
So, but Joe's new to the board relatively. Mary's new to the board, and so Green Lady, which is run by Nicole Campbell and Rupert. I don't know if you've had the opportunity to visit their facility. No. Okay. So Nicole, I don't know if she's there.
Yes. Hi, Barry.
Hi. So with my two new at-large commissioners who have been there for a bit, would you mind if they reached out to you and maybe were able to do a little meet and greet with you just to get a sense of when we talk about things? I think the few of us who have been there found it incredibly invaluable just to understand what was going on.
Yes, absolutely. I would be glad to host anybody from the board. So I will gladly do that. Thank you.
All right, great. So I'll have them contact you by email if you need that information about how to get in touch with email, or I'm sure you could phone call them as well. Let me know. Let me know what you need to help facilitate that process as well. They're both very gracious hosts, and I really do appreciate them making it open for us.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll look for the email addresses, or you could share my email address. That would be fine with me.
Okay, great. Okay, so one of the things that came up with meeting with town council way back when, at the close of last year, was that we were chatting about the host agreements that were out there, and town council said, I've got a model host agreement that we think would work well. It was short, concise, to the point. Excuse me, it was meant to, what's the word I'm searching for here? Meant to be kind of a blanket type policy that any town could adopt. So they had formulated that out to, be able to have that handy. When I looked over what we've got for both Green Lady and then the one for Act Natural, they almost seem to be more, it doesn't quite feel the same as what town council put in place. It feels more like they're contractual in nature. So, but I thought it would be kind of interesting to, we've got both of our facilities now, so that unfortunately there's not much to do unless something else comes along. But I thought it might be worthy of us just taking a look at it and, maybe side by side, just to see what's out there and see if you had any thoughts on the process that maybe at some point we could offer back to the select board.
I read them both a couple
Yeah.
of times. I'm actually surprised at some of the things that I found in here on both agreements.
Yep.
The issue of, let's see, the community impact fee is pretty straightforward. So is the community benefit payments. But when you get into the community benefit payments, why in the world anybody ever propose things like some of the fees for the items listed here, like facility consulting fees and costs, additional payments and reimbursements, all got deducted from the 3%, which does not appear in the latest agreement that you passed out from the attorneys, which does make sense. There's also in here, for example, a late payment. And this, I'll tell you, this is on Act Naturals.
Mhm.
There's a late payment fee that says it'll be 5% of whatever the required payments are. It doesn't say when the 5%, when the fee even has to get paid. And why it doesn't say compounded monthly to put an incentive in there really surprised me. But it was one of the early agreements, so I guess it was, people didn't think about something like that. There's a thing in here on local taxes that is sort of mind-boggling, which is on page 6, the second paragraph of local taxes. It says, if you have exemptions that are appropriate, that you should get, it doesn't make any difference. You have to pay what the real tax would be if you didn't have the exemptions.
Mhm.
And why Act Natural even signed off on that's beyond me. Why it was even put in the agreements beyond me. There was also in here, I found interesting in this one and the latest from the attorney, the business of a company required community outreach meeting. Did anybody go to the one when this was set up? Were there a lot of people there?
I know I went to the one with Green Lady that was there, and yeah, it attracted a fairly good sized crowd. Not like, oh my God, hundreds of people, but I'd probably dare say, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 people. Nicole can maybe speak a little better to that. And then let me see, the one for Act Natural, unfortunately, I wasn't able to make that one. But Dorothy, I see your hand raised. Just give me a minute. I just want to see if Mike or Nicole want to quickly chime in back to Joe on this.
We had our community outreach, and some people attended. Some people, Libby Gibson came, and a few others, but it isn't wildly attended.
That would be my impression.
At that point, everything has already been decided. You know, we had been to couple dozen select board meetings and planning board meetings and things. So the opportunity for people to have voiced their opinions, voice their opinions. And this is kind of a later formality.
Yeah. Well, and just to continue on this, for example, item 10 is energy and environmental requirements. Why in the world this would be in here? It says the company agrees to enroll in Nantucket's Power Choice Green Municipal Electric Program. My point is, who cares what they tie into? They want to tie into the thing that's best for their business. And why it happens to be this Nantucket Power Choice Green. Maybe that was a hot topic back then and that got put in. Also, the company shall pay to have a deduct meter installed. And you look at that and you think, what does that have to do with all of this? If they don't put in a deduct meter, then they're paying more money than they should be paying. And I can't imagine who put that in or how that all got agreed to. Let's see, a couple of other things. Oh, there is something in here about reports that are filed with the town. What are the chances of getting that, even if it means I sign a confidentiality agreement? I don't care. That my only intent of looking at that is to do an analysis from my perspective of what's going on from year to year.
I don't have a good answer to that. I dare say that it might be public record by a certain stage, though. And I don't know if Nicole or Mike have a better feel for that.
It says it's available to the select board.
Yeah,
Should be
maybe
available to members of the advisory committee, I would think.
I would tend to think so as well, by virtue of it being an extension of that. That would probably be something to chat with Libby Gibson about as well.
When I
Did
look
you
at the next,
want-
oh, somebody was going to say something.
No, go ahead.
Okay, when I look at the next agreement, the Green Lady dispensary, I was surprised because it's dispensing of marijuana for medical use. Is that the case today?
Nicole.
So yes, we do medical and we do adult recreational. And I think that might be the reason why it states that is because when we started the process, we first started with medical and later added on recreational. So maybe it's a timing thing, why it states that way.
That's probably the case because this document was signed in November of 2017.
Okay, can I come in here for a minute? Because I've had my hand up. I have a more current actual agreement between all these dated back, dated for both of them. And I think the one I have, I'm right now looking at, I'm looking at Act Naturals. I have a more current one of Green Ladies. I believe Green Ladies were signed a couple years later and it has a different, it encompasses both medical and it says recreational and medical marijuana in it. And that agreement, that one that I have is dated, and if you hold on a minute, I'm going to give you the exact date of the agreement signed. It was signed I'm just getting agreement on the day of the year first written above. So sorry, I'm gonna have to go right back to the beginning. But I believe that I got this and it is stated that it changed in the year of 2018. She changed it again. It was entered to on the 25th day of July 2018, and it is stated in there, both marijuanas are in there.
Yeah, well, the documents that I'm using are the ones that Barry sent out, which I assume are the Right,
No,
wow,
I can get them sent to you, but I have the newer ones.
Oh,
good.
And
so,
on the question that you had about the report, anything that is submitted to the Board of Selectmen is a public document. And you're allowed to get that. All you have to do is request that from Erica.
Very good.
And then when you have a chance, Barry, I would like to,
yeah, no, I get it. And no, I appreciate you chiming in like that. So Dorothy, just for a point of clarification, the two agreements between the town and the two entities, you're telling me they're the ones that you sent me, there's updated versions to those?
the ones I sent you a month and a half ago.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Yes, there are updated versions of
Oh.
those. They changed in the sense that the first one that you got was the first one done with Green Lady and Act Natural. And of course, things changed with Green Lady.
Sure.
And with Act Natural, so they are different than the ones you have.
Okay.
Um,
Could you do me a favor and make those available to me, and then I'll redistribute it back out to the committee?
No problem, I will do
That
that.
would be awesome. Thank you.
I was-
Yeah. So Joe, did you have anything else, or because I know Dorothy's got some things too. You
Uh,
had the floor initially, and I want to be
That's
respectful of
it
that.
for now. If these are older agreements, then those comments don't apply because the newer agreements may override what I was raising here. And if we get the new agreements or later agreements, I'll take another look and see if some of those points are still there. And maybe what I'll do is just write up a one-pager on it and say, here are some of the things that I found that were sort of
Mhm.
unusual.
Yeah, I agree. So I mean, definitely, just based upon what Dorothy had brought up a minute ago, we'll continue this discussion into next month. But Joe, is there anything else? Or are you good for the moment?
That's it.
All right, Dorothy, thank you for your patience.
Actually, I wanted to answer some of his questions at the
Yeah,
beginning.
please,
I
please.
think I'm gonna feel like an idiot right now.
No.
Because I went looking at the other information that, Joe, I'm sorry, I don't recall what you first brought up, but I had an answer for you on that.
What I first brought up was there is a 3% payment made to the town on sales. And
Okay.
then there were a whole pile of other issues that were raised. For example, if there were meetings that were conducted by the town on cannabis, or if there was some other issues, having to find a consultant or get attorneys on some issues, then those monies would get deducted from the 3%. And what I'm saying is that really shouldn't happen. It ought to be $25,000 a year, or whatever the number is in the newer agreement that you have, and 3% on the sales. And if there are any expenses, the town already has collected the 3%, and the entity has paid the 3%. Why that stuff is all in there to do a deduction doesn't make much sense to me.
So, that was, okay, a couple of the things you brought up too. The annual payment, if I'm correct, is paid, it says it's 30 days following the end of each 12-month of operation.
Mhm.
And the 3%, do you know where that 3% goes, Joe?
As far as I know, it goes to the town. And if you read some of that stuff carefully, it's supposed to go to certain things. For example, it shouldn't be going to fix the dump, and it shouldn't be going to fix sewers. It's for the police activity, it's for more traffic on the roads, it's for a whole host of other things that supposedly are related to marijuana sales.
Okay, so I'm gonna answer one of those for you. I actually sit on the contract review committee too, which oversees the human service contracts on the island.
Good.
And we have two separate grants that go out. One is the human service grant, which comes from money from your tax dollars. And the other is the cannabis grant, which comes from the tax dollars of this cannabis sales. And we get a certain percentage of that 3% is given to us once they take out the costs the annual costs that they have that they put towards maintenance, and the other things that they identify in here for the town. And some of those are for infrastructure and areas like that. So in that funding, just so that you would know and understand where we had gross sales this year, at 3%, we were given almost $200,000 to allocate to in the Cannabis Committee in grants to humans for, and they went to 2 treatment programs here on the island. So that's a lot of money that we generated from that to go into the treatment programs here. One of the programs was Fair Winds and a new program that they've just started. And the other was to Gosnold and a program that they have called SOAP. So that's where a good portion of our tax dollars went to. It is available to any entity is allowed to apply for that grant that might want to use it for a school program. If police officers want to go get further training in how to work, or fire department, it's open to anybody who the town can benefit from their training in the substance abuse area. So I don't, if that helps you understand where that 3% goes, and that's a large amount of money when we think about that's what only 3% of that brought into us.
Yes. Well, I looked up the town of Nantucket and what's going to be going to Fairwinds. Fairwinds is going to get $279,000.
Well, Fairwinds is also getting money. Fairwinds is getting money through the contract review committee from the town of Nantucket. There are 2 different grants. You have
Yes.
and they're
I'm
doing,
sure- Yeah, I'm sure there are several grants, but that's a substantial amount of money.
it's a substantial amount of money, but they're running 2 different one of the programs is a mental health program where they get money. And what we do is we subsidize, if somebody doesn't have money, they get subsidized services. So if it costs $125 to see a therapist, you don't have it, we subsidize that payment, and they pay a little bit and we offset the payments, the town does.
Gosnold is getting from the town $87,500.
Correct.
And I'm surprised Dr. Leprey's office is getting nothing.
Well, Dr. Leprey's office did not get, it was not that Dr. Leprey was not a candidate. Dr. Leprey was a candidate to receive the funding. And he was a equal candidate as everybody else was to get the funding. We needed some information that he was unable to provide that is legally has to be provided to us for the grant process.
Got it.
So he himself pulled himself out of the grant process.
Yeah, because the title of his group is Addiction Solutions of Nantucket. You would think that would tie right in with.
He was a top running candidate for the money, for some of the money. But as I said, he himself pulled himself out at the last day of our deliberations on it. Due to his own, we needed some paperwork that he was unable to provide and asked that he be pulled out of the process.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that sort of answers where some of that funding goes so that it does not go to our dump,
That's good to know.
right? It is
Okay.
very good to know. And it actually all the programs that it does fund are really amazing for the community. So I'll hold on that. And what was the other thing? Because I could answer it when you were asking, and
I shouldn't have talked as long.
that's okay.
I don't remember.
That's okay. Either do I. So it's got something to do with just the day it is. Well, when you
Yeah.
think of that, I will be more than happy to go back on that. And I think the ones that you have in front of you, though, that should be very clear is that these are the agreements that were legally brought up by town council after discussions and all the legal ramifications of the town. The one that you have, the draft one that we have that was sent to us that could be a broader one, does not take into place all of the logistics for the town of Nantucket.
Mhm.
And that's the big difference between your draft agreement and these two agreements that we have here. They really look at everything. I know that on the first agreement, if we were to look at the first agreement, we would have said, oh, how come they have to pay that money towards the parking lot? But if you go out and see what's happened with the parking lot that will abut the Gray Lady facility, you will see that it's quite a nice parking lot that's going to be behind and accessible to add to their ability to host people, you know, have a more readability for parking for people to come in. So I'm going to make sure that everybody gets this. I'm going to send it to Barry right now so that it can go out to him. And these are the most current agreements being held by the town of Nantucket. And I hope that that helps everybody.
Mhm.
And Joe, if you find questions, you feel free to ask them out. I will be departing this meeting shortly because I'm getting called off to something's going on at work. So
Oh.
I'm waiting to hear what they're responding to me for, but I'm going to get this out right now to Barry.
Thank
And
you.
hopefully he'll be able to get those out to you right away. I did have one question when we had both Nicole and Mike Sullivan on here. If we
Yep.
could go back for a second, because I had my hand up to ask them a question.
I know, go ahead.
And Mike and Nicole, I'm just wondering if you could answer to us your status. You know, I sat with them at the Board of Selectmen meeting through a couple of them with discussions over Bartlett's and the cultivation license for Bartlett's, and then the idea that they would be possibly dispersing or selling their products to you. How do you feel about that, the impact on that? And do you believe that will be good for your company, for your businesses at this point? And if you could just, you know, you don't have to get too far into it, but whatever your feelings are, that'd be great. And thanks, everybody.
Well, I guess I'll answer. I've been talking with Bartlett and I'm very supportive of it. We will be able to sell the product that he grows. He's very passionate about growing. Like, it doesn't matter to him whether it's tomatoes or hemp or cannabis. And yeah, we're fully going to be working with them.
Good, Mike.
Okay. I met with John too, and I've known John for a long time. He's a great guy. We personally won't be buying anything from him just because we have a very, very, very large facility here. And we have a very controlled climate where we just, I think we could probably expand what we grow here 10 times what we're doing. And we think it's enough for not only Nantucket, but potentially Martha's Vineyard too. So we have a very large facility. And I told John that we probably wouldn't ever buy from him because of that reason. The other thing that our attorneys advised us is because of we're not a designated state lab, we can't test his product. So because we can test our own product and are only allowed to test our own product, but we wouldn't be able to legally test his product. So I think that becomes a challenge unless things, I spoke with John about this, unless things change and he'd be able to send his product off island to get it tested, we wouldn't be able to test his product.
But he can't send his product off island because it's against federal law.
Correct. So
Okay.
that's a huge problem.
And Nicole, do you have testing facility on site for you?
Yes, we do have testing facilities on site for us, and we've gotten different legal advice. John and I have talked about it, and basically that has to be part of his application to the state of Massachusetts. And the CCC will decide along the way how they feel about it. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy or smooth sailing in any fashion, but he is aware that this is something he has to work with the state in his application, because there's no point in him building a building and so forth if it can't work out. But I am of the opinion that he will be able to make it work out.
Fabulous.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you both for your feedback on that. I've been wondering, I've just been wondering about it. And Barry, if I can ask them one other question to go with some conversation we've had, just because we have both of them on and they haven't been when we've met before, like when I've been there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Guys, we've had a lot of discussion about delivery service. And I would love some feedback on, I did a lot of research on it and on the impacts it has on dispensaries because of the legality of having to have two drivers, the cameras, the lot boxes, what happens if one driver calls in sick? And just wondering, are you in favor of that? Where do you two stand on the delivery services? What do you believe they will benefit you? And would you be able to sustain them due to the state requirements?
I guess I'll answer first. So one of the caveats of the delivery license is it's being held for a certain number of years for social equity applicants. So at the moment, neither Act Natural nor the Green Lady qualify on the very specific definitions of the social equity applicant. It isn't just being a minority-owned business or a woman-owned business. You have to prove all sorts of things. For example, that you lived in a particular zip code for a certain number of years. And obviously Nantucket does not fall in that zip code range. So it's being held for social equity applicants. I have seen on the mainland a very distasteful thing where people put up a social equity applicant as a front man or larger companies to go ahead and do delivery. And I really dislike that. So it's something to be careful of. So I think that all of you have a while to decide this because I think I'm not positive, but I think it's 3 years. So, you have a while before you can decide, what you think about delivery. And I just want to throw out one other reason why I think in general, brick and mortar stores are very uncomfortable with delivery services. When they first contemplated delivery, the way they were going to do it is kind of how you might think of like a DoorDash or a Uber Eats, right? Where the delivery service would have to go to either the Green Lady or Act Natural, pick up a product and then deliver it. I was okay with that scenario. But now what they've contemplated, and they're trying to do this to, again, help people who can't afford the very expensive business that this is in, where they don't have to go to the brick and mortar store at all. Now, I know this is different in Nantucket because right now there's only 2 brick and mortar stores, right? Act Natural and Green Lady. But in theory, somebody could find a warehouse on Nantucket, get the warehouse approved. And since Bartlett is starting this, I'll give you an example. They could just buy from Bartlett and not buy from the Green Lady or Act Natural. So, this is why, like I said, brick and mortar stores are worried about this because we put in a lot of money into having a facility where people can come. And by doing that, you're bypassing those stores. So that's another reason that I'm not, particularly excited about it. And also I have other issues, again, I don't think it's going to work on Nantucket, to be honest, which is my third thing. You have to show a driver's license when you get a delivery that is of the home that you live in, right? So we have so many summer residents and tourists and so forth. They wouldn't be able to accept a delivery. It would have to be, it could be local people on the island, right? Who that is their main address. That's the address on the driver's license. But all the people that might own homes on Nantucket or vacationers or those types of people, their address isn't going to match their driver's license or the form of ID. And then you're not going to be able to make a delivery. So that cuts out a lot of possibilities for that. So for that and more reasons, I'm not particularly in favor of delivery licenses.
Thanks, Nicole. That was really good. Some of those were my concerns. So I appreciate that. Mike, how about you?
Go ahead.
I agree with pretty much everything Nicole said. Delivery is challenging. I think, delivery hasn't really worked in the food industry on Nantucket very well. Every year, whoever tries that kind of collapses. I think delivery in the summer would be great, exciting, but Nicole brings up all the right points about the correct addresses. Plus the traffic issue, is very complicated for 3 months out of the year. In my opinion, the other 9 months out of the year, people are pretty happy to get in their car and go run an errand and do something. And so, I think just the way Nantucket's set up with traffic and things, it's challenging. We have had a bunch of groups reach out to us about delivery, and they have interest in doing something on Nantucket. And I say, yep, go for it. And then I give them Barry's email address, and I'm sure none of them ever contact you because I think they realize how hard it is. So
No.
there's a lot of challenges to it.
Thank you. Thank you both. Dorothy, I know you got to get ready to roll.
Yep.
but Before you split, I'm sorry, I'm just going to take a little point of personal privilege. With the contract review committee, could you maybe do this committee a big favor? Could you get maybe some following information from us so we understand kind of what's going on too, since this was raised? If you could identify of that annual 3%, how much you guys get out of that? Just, whatever you can come up with, either for a number or even a percentage would even be better, but that would be helpful. And then for any of the grants that you've done for that through CRC, if you could just do a quick list of who the entity is, the amount that they've gotten and what year that was or what date that was, that would be, I think it would be helpful to frame some discussions with us.
Okay, I've brought this up each year as we've gone through to the process, just so everybody knows. We've only had the cannabis grant available for 2 years.
Yep.
And so as to this date, there have only been 3 grantors that have received the funds. It is public record, and I will be more than happy to send a copy to everybody. It'll come from Health and Human Services.
Yeah.
It will be the contract review committee's cannabis grant. And I will actually also send to you, just so everybody has it. And Joe, so you have it, so you understand everything that came in, the requirements to get the cannabis grant. And what's asked of everybody to get it. Any questions with it, anybody can feel free to. I think I've tried to present it before I let everybody know that we were going through the process. So more than happy to share it.
That's awesome.
And I'll actually send the cannabis report so you can see the report that backed why we chose the funding as we did. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think just something, I was just really looking for something just kind of short and sweet, and if we needed to expand the dialogue, so be it. I'm sorry, was noticing the squirrel climbing up Jack's window there. Pretty bad. Ball, squirrel. Dorothy, if you're still there, or she may have had to grab the phone, so we'll give her a minute.
Yeah, Barry, I'm here. That's work calling. There's something wrong with an alarm system out there. That's
Okay, yeah, no problem. I'll let you go, but just really short and sweet, and then just to get a sense of what you guys are getting from that 3% that the town gets, I think would be instrumental. If you don't have the data available, and it's not being, again.
yeah, but
I think
I
would be
want
helpful.
everybody to think about this. If we got that much money, what is 3%? What is that 3% of?
Well, that's why.
That's an astronomical amount of money. Okay, guys, gotta go.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Barry, I wonder if the report filed with the town might have some of that information. That's why I think looking at that is going to be of value.
Yeah, I mean,
And maybe it doesn't have very much information, and we could say, wait a minute, we need a little more information so we can figure out what's going on.
certainly it could also be a question for Brian Turbot as well, but I'm just trying to get to a very short
Yes.
bit of information, which may begin to expose some more things. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't realize that there was updated information on those contracts. So I'm going to apologize for that up front, but I'll make sure that
I
gets
had a head start on it. So when the new ones come in, I'll know what to look for.
it should make for slightly easier reading, hopefully. Jack, did you have anything since we're kind of on this topic?
No, but I was going to go call select board and get the May 1st, financial statements from the town has. So it's a good idea. Yeah, and just in general, I find the tax structure and the associated fees a little bit on the prescriptive and onerous side for businesses, but that's just a personal thing.
No, yeah. Mary, did you have anything? Or you might be, I don't know if you're tied up for a minute.
I'm a little tied up at the end of school, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's just kind of having read through those contracts and then, I knew pieces of it, but rereading it has a very different set of eyes to me today when I started looking at all the associated fees that are tacked onto it. In terms of running a cannabis facility. And it was like, oh my God. So and again, there's a certain point where it reaches a level of vagueness. And I think we've certainly heard from, both the Cannabis Commission as well as other towns that are out there that are saying it's going to things that aren't even closely related to cannabis. So it would be just, again, I'm not saying there's any foul play or anything, but it would kind of be good to just wrap our heads around that a little bit about what actually is, what's actually going on with that. But anyways, Mary, I'm sorry, are you still engaged there? I don't want to disturb you otherwise.
No, I'm good.
Did you have anything you want to chat about on this so far? No?
No,
Okay, no, that's fair game. Nicole, how about you? Anything? Not to put you guys
I
on the
was,
spot either.
I was searching for something. I'll share a news article that we recently came out on June 9th from the Boston Globe about the local marijuana fees. So I'm going to search for that and send it to you in email, Barry. If you find it
Awesome.
interesting, you
Awesome.
can share it.
Yep, take your time. We've got a little bit of time still before our next meeting in July. So, but yeah, that'll be great. I'll make sure that gets shared out with the committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Nicole, I would concur with the statement you said before that there's a scam going on in some of these situations. And the really good example happened about 2 months ago in Connecticut, when over 15,000 people applied for 12 licenses. You got to know that big companies are using people as shills in this whole thing. And it's just not right.
Joe, you're absolutely right. It's kind of sad in the cannabis industry. There's huge corporations with tons of money, and they'll bend the rules to do what they can and get in there. And Massachusetts has tried, it really had tried to prevent that with certain rules, but capitalism, it will make people come up with always a way to get around the rules. So it's a real thing.
And the thing that surprises me when I look at some of this stuff is there are these set-asides for distressed areas, distressed communities. And I've been sending information on to Barry about the publicly held cannabis companies. In the last month or so, for the first quarter of this year, not one of those companies has reported a positive income. They've all lost enormous amounts of money. And you say, now, wait a minute, we're going to set aside a few of these licenses for distressed communities. I don't understand how that's going to work at all.
Well, I have heard within the industry, from bigger companies than us on the mainland, that they call them MSOs, multi-state operators.
Yes.
That they're throwing huge amounts of money at this industry with absolutely no intention of making a profit or breaking even. And I don't know I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know if they just care about stock prices or I don't know, but they're throwing huge amounts of money and they're losing money and they keep doing it. I don't understand it. That's not the way.
What they're trying to do is drive out the competition.
Yes, perhaps that's their goal. Scoop up as much as they can.
Yeah.
But one of the problems that exists is that the gray market cannabis, remember, doesn't pay any taxes, is not saddled with all the restrictions that apply, and their prices are low relative to those people that are trying to follow the rules and pay the taxes. And it's going to be a real battle.
Anyway,
The gray market's not going to go away.
I agree with you. I think our biggest competitor is the black, I call it the black market, but yes, that is our
Yeah.
biggest competitor.
Mhm.
They're not sending in money to the town to do all these things that you guys were discussing previously.
Yeah, I concur.
You know, and don't forget, when you get very large companies like Altria and stuff who are out there, spend money or give it to the government at the end, at the close of their business cycle. So you've got to begin to think, all right, there's definitely a game plan underneath that, but time will tell. Time will tell. Mike, did you have anything? I'm so sorry.
Nope, that's great. A very good
Okay.
discussion, good conversation.
Good. I know we got a little off topic there, but that's okay. Because we just kind of flow that into other business as well. So we'll revisit this topic next month with some updated information and some additional information that, you know, may be worth chatting about a little further. Is there anything that any of you want to bring to the table while we're here? I'm not seeing anything. All right. Well, our next meeting is July 21st. We'll see where that takes us to, as we're deep in the tentacles of summer. Above and beyond that, you know, I'd like to thank you all for being here at this point. And I would take a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Who made the initial, or I'll take it as the initial from you, Jacques.
yeah, I thought okay, I'll make an initial motion to adjourn.
Okay, and do I hear a second?
Second,
Yeah, unfortunately, the chair can't do that, unfortunately. It's kind of, you
It sounded
can,
like
but
he
it's
did.
frowned upon. That's okay, no problem. It's all good. So all those in favor, Jacques,
Aye.
Joe,
aye.
Mary,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. Everyone, thank you for being here. It was good. It was a good conversation, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do that. All right, see you in a month. Stay healthy out there, and if anything comes up, you know, certainly bounce me an email. And
Thanks so much.
no problem.
Take care.
All right, talk to you later, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye-bye.